So if you're joining us on the recording, welcome. We're just having a bit of a chat about how we lead events in Black Pear and some tips for that. To be honest, it might not be the most paired discussion, but let's see. So if we're running an event, then what kind of things do we think we need to think about?
The event?
Yeah.
And as in what you're doing?
Yeah.
Logistics.
How many people it's for?
People it's for.
Risk management.
Yeah, risk assessments and that kind of thing.
Location.
Yeah.
Location.
When it's happening, date and time, what your budget's going to be. Anything else? If there's any other sort of scout paperwork or anything involved. So I guess if we take, I'm going to pick on the first example here, which is hikes longer or further afield. So I don't know if you can read that on the video, but we've got a bit of a card which is showing who's interested in various things and some of the basic details about them. We're going to fill those in during our planning session. But right away, we've got a minimum number of 3, which sounds reasonably sensible. If you're trying to run a hike with 2 people, depending on where you're going, it might end up in some safety issues. 3 is a good number for terrain 0. I think going into terrain 1, you probably want 4, if I'm remembering the rules correctly. What are we thinking about here? So we've got a minimum number. We've got potentially, I'd say location can be a bit flexible on this one, on the assumption that we've got network members and many of you drive, and or you can go to somewhere with a train station if that's an issue. So we're thinking about probably starting off with when we're doing it. So hopefully that's something we'll cover tonight for a lot of our events and put them into calendar, but it is also worth checking that you've got, like, if we only had 3 people interested in this one, then chances are we could run it, but we might need to put a poll out to make sure all 3 of those people could make it, so we've got a minimum number. If we've got like 6 people interested in it, then it might be the question of we can just put it in the calendar for whenever somebody who's leading it can make it, and isn't like so you've done an availability form, haven't you, Sarah? So we'll check that. We'll check that as well. So I don't know how much detail we can go into with like trying to piece together different people and different nights and all of that kind of thing, but we might just do a simple thing of yellow, red, green, depending on how many people can do that, and then as long as it's not on a red one, it's probably going to be all right for a hike if there's more interest than a minimum number. So yeah, that's that kind of think about what that margin is and whether it's just a question of run it and sign up for interest, or whether you do actually have to plan it in with everybody who wants to do it, because there aren't many of those people to choose from. So we've got our when. We've planned it for a random Saturday in October. I guess then it would be perhaps thinking about where we might want to go. So that again could be a poll in the chat. we want this to be shaped by the members, or perhaps the person who's leading it has a good idea of, I want to go to there, in which case that might have been on the card already, or it might be that they didn't think that far ahead, or they signed up to lead it after the card was written, or that kind of thing. So yeah, you want to try and work out where. So poll would be a good way. Let's say maybe, I don't know, somebody pick a location. It's good for a hike.
Herefordshire.
Herefordshire.
All of Herefordshire.
Just walk around the county.
Okay.
Nice short stroll.
Okay. Well, considering that there was mentions earlier of those that can't drive, how about we walk between Coldwell Station and Ledbury Station?
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. That's, I don't think I've done that one before, but I've certainly been around Coldwell Station and other ends of the hills. So yeah, knowing that area sort of well myself, that seems like plausible. It seems like that's kind of your logistics in place, because people can drive, people can take the train, it's kind of up to them, and people who drive can then take the train back to their cars at the end of the day, or plan that at the start of the day, and they've got options there. So that kind of stuff is all prepped for you, and it's a reasonably nice place to go for a walk. It probably in this case doesn't fit the further afield, because we do the Malverns quite a lot, but that's a nice sort of area. But if you didn't know it, you'd be perhaps doing some research into it. Is that about the right distance, and all of that kind of stuff? So we got a hike there. What kind of cost do you think there's going to be to this one?
Train tickets.
So I'd say it's individual cost.
Yeah, I tend to agree with this one. It sounds like the kind of thing where everybody can get themselves there. They pay the travel costs. Maybe they bring packed lunches. Sorry, there's possibly a squirrel, possibly a pigeon. We're not quite sure. Something's on the roof,
It's going
and
on.
it's trying to come in.
I'm very smart because the window's open.
So, so yeah, we're saying individual sort of costs, because there isn't really anything that people need to be concerned about. It is literally just getting yourselves there and food, which people can sort out themselves. So we can mark that as free on OSM or whatever, which kind of brings us on to the OSM event. So in Black Pear, we communicate our events out by OSM, and also generally in the Facebook Messenger chat as well. So ideally you want to be getting the details for the OSM event to Sophie, so, at least 3 weeks before the event, so that she can get that up in plenty of time for people to sign up. And for that you need kind of a bit of a description about what the event is. Try and promote it so that people can sign up. You want the cost, which we've just worked out. You want the date and the times. So I don't know, this might be an all-day thing. You might say get to Coldwell. Is it Coldwell start or Ledbury start? Let's get to
Great,
Coldwell
either way.
for 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to make some guesstimates about timing of the route, but let's say we're aiming to be done at Ledbury Station by 5 in the afternoon. They did say longer hikes. And then you'd also want to have details about if anybody needs to bring anything, or if there's anything they should be aware of. So you might think about a bit of a kit list, or you might say, look, bring the normal stuff you'd bring for a fairly long walk. If you're not quite sure what that is, contact so and so. excuse me. You want to say who's leading the event, and some details about the timings, like if there's any sort of flexibility in that, or any sort of, yes, you absolutely need to be there by 10 or we're going to leave without you kind of thing. Any of that kind of stuff. Anything else that I've missed that we need in our OSM events? Anything you guys would like to see in OSM events that maybe we don't do already? I don't know. You the stunned silence.
I'm thinking.
I suppose if you think about the walk thing, which you'll be anyway, but just thinking more of a lead ahead on. Make sure your OSM is up to date in terms of any medical stuff.
Yes, that's a good shout. If there's some particular things you might want to specifically say in the OSM to say,
Yeah.
you need to make sure so and so's up to date, or even a column.
Or even
Please confirm that it is.
So person especially if you're the one that's leading the event, it'd be good to know some of the information potentially, or someone who knows the information if something was to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, so you need, that probably comes into risk assessments a bit, but you do need an in-touch process.
And,
all
and,
that kind
and
of
also
stuff.
sort of potentially having some of that offline as well.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a judgment call based on if you're going somewhere without mobile signal, then yeah, that would be useful to have. If it's pretty good signal and you've got at least 2 of you there with access to it, maybe not so much of an issue.
I suppose the issue comes when the coverage is limited but not sort of amazing, in that you might be able to make a phone call, but you might not be able to search for that phone number.
Yeah, I think that's probably getting a bit deep into risk assessments, but we need to make sure you've got access to that sort of information. Now, if this was an event which was costing money, then you'd want to be looking at how much it's costing per person, all the expenses that are going to come out, and you want to round that up a little bit to account for card fees, and then that's something Sophie would need to know is the cost of the event, so that she can create the Stripe link and add that into the OSM event. You also need to think about the closing date. So we have had a few events recently when it's been, the closing date has been the day before, and it's then been nobody signed up, and it's been quite last minute trying to, are we running, are we not running, and that kind of thing. So I would definitely recommend setting the closing date at least a few days beforehand, so it's a bit more relaxed. And if you've got anything to book, for example, like when I did Mulligan's the other week, I knew that I was going to be on summer camp, so I set the closing date far enough so that I had time to make the booking before summer camp. But yes, that all wants to be with Sophie 3 weeks in advance, or let's say 2 weeks before your closing date. So you've got a week for Sophie to get around to getting the event out, and then a week for people to answer it.
Does Sophie have a preferred method for people getting in touch with her?
I believe Facebook Messenger is good.
I think Messenger can do that right.
Depends how hard you throw it.
I'll write it up, yeah.
So when Sophie listens back to this recording,
It's
She walks in a
direct.
minute.
Yeah.
I think paper airplane works.
Messenger
The
pigeon.
seamsters look
What's
at the
that?
messenger group
Messenger
chat,
pigeon.
Yeah.
find Sophie in the members thing, and then private message.
yeah, yeah, that's probably best. So that's your OSM event out. You've got the basic details of your event sorted. With the random train stations, there's not really a need to book that venue in advance, or any real concern that it's not going to be available. But because it would be using the Malvern Hills, there is a form to do for the Malvern Hills Trust just to get permission for that event. It's usually just a tick box, but it's a bunch of paperwork, and you need to ask Unity for the public liability form and send in your risk assessment. So because it's the Malverns here, there's a bit more paperwork to do. If you've got 15 of you, I think is the cut-off.
As in more than 15.
15 plus, I think. I don't quote me on that number though. But yes, those kind of things. If it was something at the Den, then possibly if we put it in calendar, maybe we've done a central booking of we'd like all of these dates, please, or possibly you need to be emailing Ali directly to try and book a session on a particular day. Equivalents for other venues, and you might want to have some idea of whether it's free before you start collecting money or anything like that. If it is a session at a Scout Hut, then chances are there is a venue cost for that. So then that's feeding into the cost of the event and all of that kind of thing. Any questions so far?
I don't know if it's worth making that going over that cost bit again, because obviously some events just working out the cost.
Yeah.
And how clear that is, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. So you might want to get a spreadsheet for this kind of thing. In fact, if I click, no, where's my mouse? I click that.
I think my point is to more so if I'm running an event, I'm probably going to be buying something for that event. Whether it's a lot of money, I don't know, but it's how well budget in terms of like payments. Or if I'm just using stuff.
Yeah.
That's more my question. More than like, I know for example, this is like £3, I believe, for the den. And that's if that's all I'm doing, I'm doing a presentation type thing. That's the cost, but
Yeah, so what I would tend to say, and this is because I'm a
spreadsheet.
nerd,
I'm trying to learn Spanish.
but if you've got sort of, you can put your expenses in as a
Psychopath starts an A1.
Where's your little border?
I closed the table the other day. I was so impressed with myself.
Oh, from IKEA.
No, on spreadsheet.
and you can have like a cost overall, and you really want to make these into money cells. And then maybe we have, I don't know, let's say we're meeting here. So we've got den hire, and we have a cost overall £10, and maybe we've got
Dinner cost or something like that.
yeah, so food cost, and we're budgeting say £3 per person. And then, so I shouldn't have started to name one.
Yeah.
Because we've got people, and this is a spreadsheet that I've cobbled together many times. So what's our minimum number of people? Let's say it's 3 for a cooking night. And then this is so it's B3 plus no.
Can we do a learn Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah.
He's doing it for a constant.
Yeah.
There's some advanced Excel stuff, Mr. Steve.
Plus C3 times
No,
D.
it's got to.
I think it's because
No, it's got to be. It's got to be
mixed up.
D2.
Is that meant to
times-
be a division rather than a multiplication? Because here we've got, if you've got 3 people, then the den hire cost is
Okay.
and if I put all the dollars in the right place, then
Wow.
and then you can do the same thing again for your other rows.
Oh, I get you. You don't have to fill in every single box because like the den's always going to be £10,
Yeah,
but then the food cost is whatever.
that's always like, there's a bit of variation to it, but you could say your cooking event is a budget of £3 per person, and that would be reasonable.
It's the best menu you've seen, Steve.
I'm so glad.
Have I blown everybody's mind
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
like one Excel formula?
Yeah.
Let's say
It's pretty advanced.
It was
And even with
money.
Does it work in Google Sheets?
Excel spreadsheet.
let's say card fees are 30p each, and then you can pull that down, and then we can maybe have a total.
Oh, you can use that sum now, are you?
Oops. So
Oh, yeah.
D3.
Oh, we're
Yeah,
doing it so manually.
But I always leave a few blank rows so I can insert rows here and not muck it with the
That's
formula.
the smart man.
So you don't necessarily need to pick a cost that is going to break even with all of these, because you get ups and downs, and over a bunch of different events, it might average out. But we can kind of see here, we're probably looking about £6. If you get 3 people, there'll be a little loss on the event. If you get 5 people, there'll be a little surplus on the event. But 4 people, that's about right. It's probably unlikely we're going to get 9.
So once I learn how to do Excel spreadsheet, work out cost.
No, you can do this without Steve just doing a fancy thing.
No,
Yeah.
He's
If
just
you
doing magic
ask
numbers.
No, if you ask Steve nicely, he might send you that spreadsheet.
But yes, that's a rough example, and the idea is work out everything that's going to cost you money, and how many people you're likely to have. So you could do this quite easily and more simply if you said, right, I want this to work for 4 people. Okay, so the den hire is going to be £2.50 each.
Yeah.
Then we've got the food cost, which is 3, card fees, and add it up simply like that. I just find this is quite nice because it gives you a bit of a what if. And sometimes you can do more complicated things, which I won't get into. But
So the water sports day that I ran was pretty much the hiring of the centre and then hiring the kit. And the centre was a flat cost, and then the kit was per person. So it's exactly the same as this.
Yeah.
And it worked out about the same.
but sometimes you have, if you're doing a camp transport, you would have what am I trying to say? You might have numbers of cars. So for 3 people, you can fit them all in one car. If you've got 4 people, you need 2 cars, and you can wrangle the formula into that, or maybe a little bit of manual stuff there. Hello.
Hello.
Just a quick warning, we are recording this, so don't say anything you don't want to end up on YouTube.
Piss, shit, fuck.
Is there any more we can go through?
That's Josh Sanders, by the way.
No, that's Josh Capewell.
He lives that.
Oh, you just sitting up there?
No, I'm going to sit over here.
Also, hi.
Put Tom on head.
Um,
Give me a car back, Poppy. Thank you.
so yeah, that's a very quick introduction to spreadsheets.
So let's go. We missed the important part.
You just catch it on YouTube.
You can watch it on double speed.
It's not going on the podcast.
It's not going on the podcast, but the
podcast. Excel tutorial. podcast.
that's got to be an outtake for one of the podcast episodes. But yes, in seriousness, we are recording this so that anybody who's not here can come back and look at it and work out how to lead an event.
Fair enough. Sounds like a good plan.
So yeah, that was a quick bit about budgeting. That was your question, Nate, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Any other questions we've had so far?
Nate's question was to ask.
What was Nate's
Any more
question?
questions?
Nate's question was about budgeting.
I think
That's why those spreadsheets are good. It's all making sense now. It's all coming together.
the pound symbol's given away.
Honestly.
So yeah, that's kind of, again, work this out before you give the OSM stuff to Sophie, because she's going to need to know how much to set the stripe length for.
Yeah, I clearly don't do the maths, considering I didn't understand why there was a spreadsheet.
Yes,
I
so
don't think that's maths.
and I guess in terms of support as well, that's a good time to sort of talk about that. If you're sort of struggling for maybe interest in something and not quite sure whether to do a poll, then feel free to get in touch with some of the pear tree and just bounce ideas around. I'm happy to talk about that kind of thing. I'm sure other people are as well. If you want to bounce some budgetary ideas off people, it sounds like maybe not Sophie.
Right, I do get it. I'm training to teach, guys, but it's like little ones. So yeah, but it's like reception kids. It's like 1 to 5.
Oh, yeah, they don't matter.
But you're not teaching them to use Excel.
No, not in reception.
We hope.
They can't eat it, so they're not interested.
But yeah, I'm happy to help with spreadsheets if necessary. We do have a Google Drive that you can put stuff in. That's probably easier. It's the same stuff as in Excel.
No, it does work that me in.
That's a problem we should talk about, but
At a later date.
yes, exactly. So we've got our budget, we've put our OSM event out, we've got, so let's say we've got 5 people signed up to a hike, and maybe reconciling this a little bit, maybe we were aiming to start and finish our hike from the den, which is why we've got some, and maybe we're putting a cooked tea on as well. Hello. Just be warned, we are recording, so don't say anything you don't want to end up on. But hi.
Keep there. I'm going to try and move you around again. Hopefully no one else joins.
Right here, but like,
Yeah, that involves climbing
Yeah,
over or under.
in the wood.
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to move out.
Be nice.
I like my seat. Now I can be in there.
Now I'm gonna that's easier to access. See how it works.
So yeah,
I'm gonna do it.
we've got our venue booked. We've got our OSM event out. We've posted reminders and stuff in the Facebook chat. If we've got anything we want to be youth shaped, we've maybe put a chat together or put a poll in the main chat, depending on what it is. If it's a camp, you maybe want to be thinking on larger timescales and getting more input from various people. So, for example, I put some stuff out about the Halloween camp recently, and that was a sort of put it poll into the chat for into the main chat for who's interested, and then put a chat together with whoever was interested and ask more specific questions in there. But also do be aware some people are not on Facebook Messenger, so if you're doing sort of sign up for events and that kind of thing, you do want to make sure that goes out on OSM regardless and in plenty of time. So got our comms all sorted. We need to obviously plan what we're doing for the event. So with a hike, that's relatively straightforward, but you might want to think about routes. Are you going to get people to improvise a route on the day? Are you going to have multiple teams? All of those considerations. If you're doing, for example, a water day, you want to be thinking about what craft are we using? Are we just going to give people the options? Where are we going? That direction or that direction down the river? How far are we planning to go? Are we planning a lunch stop, a pub stop? All of those kind of questions. If you're planning something maybe like game show evening, then you've obviously got to work out how that's going to work with the people you've got and work out what that's going to be. If it's, I don't know, a podcast, you're going to want to be thinking about who's bringing what content to talk about in the podcast and who's going to be editing it, all of those kind of things. Is that all kind of making sense? Does anybody want to dive into a bit more detail about planning the programming side of things?
No.
I think it's worth mentioning as well. Obviously, there's quite a lot goes into making a night. You don't have to do it all by your lonesome.
Yes.
Feel free to recruit and help other people out if need be. And if you are stuck, feel free to speak to people. You don't have to just suffer in silence whenever.
Yeah.
I'm sure Sarah can be helpful sometimes.
No.
Not to you.
Not to me. Good thing I don't need help.
It sounds like Tom's just volunteering.
Oh, no, I'm dropping the sort of the proverbial gauntlet for someone else to volunteer to volunteer.
But yes, do make use of other people to support. And it's possible you might have people who volunteer to help, or it's possible you might be have a set of co-leaders for an event, and obviously you'd be talking to each other about all of that kind of stuff and bouncing ideas around and that kind of thing. So you've got your program, you know your timings and all of that kind of thing. You've got your logistics sorted. A lot of things are just everybody makes their own way to a place and you stay at that place. But potentially if it's cooking, maybe we're going out to the shops and we're going to be driving. So we just need to make sure that somebody's got a car there. And depending on numbers, maybe multiple cars. And if it's a hike, if it's a hike and it's point to point, you need to think about how people are getting back to their cars. If it's a camp and we're putting on transport because it's far enough away, we're going to be thinking about who's actually comfortable driving there. And or do we need to look at public transport? Does that impact the budget? Who's paying for the fuel? Which, if it's a decent way, generally you'd budget for an amount of fuel. So those kind of considerations. And then we get on to the health and safety stuff, which doesn't need to be the end of the world. So I can't remember. I think I was leading this event, wasn't I? The program planning.
I was in this event we're on right now.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't done a risk assessment.
So you are doing a dynamic risk assessment. You're going to record at a later date.
I am going to do a risk assessment now, just so that we can demonstrate how uncomplicated it is. So, people can injure themselves in general ways anytime. So we tend to make sure we've got first aid kit and first aiders. And I know several people around this table, including me, are first aiders. There's a first aid kit on the shelf over there. There's another one in the cupboard over there. So that's kind of covered. We are going to be putting this online. So that introduces some potential online harms of information disclosure and that kind of stuff. So you will note that I've warned everybody as they've been arriving that they're being recorded to help them moderate that. And if anybody says anything they really don't want out in public, then they
all your heads my way.
You changed the colour as Steve said that.
You also came in immediately swore and then sat down.
But yes, if there's anything like that people don't want online, we're not publishing it immediately. We can do some editing if people really need to.
No. No, don't.
So yeah, that's sort of online harms. In terms of sort of behaviour and stuff, because I know previous planning meetings we have had some behaviour issues. I think we just need to make it clear to everybody that it's their own jobs to be responsible, engage with what's happening, and be respectful. And if anything does come up, I'm not going to yell at people, but
you'll look very disappointed.
Yeah, somebody can have a quiet, disappointed word if necessary.
That's actually worse than being yelled. Specifically.
So that's behaviour, and then we are doing pizza. So food hygiene. Whoever's handling the food is going to wash their hands. we're gonna make sure the utensils we're using are clean, and if we don't think they're clean enough, we're going to clean them. Generally follow HQ's guidance about dealing with food.
Cross-contamination.
Yes, make sure we're using separate utensils. We do have somebody who's gluten and lactose free, somebody who's gluten free and vegetarian, and somebody else who's vegetarian as well. So we just need to be mindful of contamination between those groups. So generally, that's probably get the allergen free ones done first and served first, and then just keep separate utensils for the vegetarian and meaty ones. That's how I would do it. Whoever's doing the food might have a different way, as long as it follows those same principles of avoiding contamination. And we also need to be mindful of cutting injuries. So there will be kitchen knives. Just be respectful of them. Don't use them in close proximity to other people. And if you're not sure what you're doing with a kitchen knife, get somebody else's guidance before you try to use them. Similarly, there's going to be hot things. So make sure you're treating those with respect, using oven gloves if appropriate, or folded damp tea towels. If you're leaving something down that's hot and other people are working around you, tell them it's there and it's hot. That kind of thing. Anything I've missed?
Make sure you just wipe down all of the surfaces you're going to eat on
Yeah.
as well.
Fire.
Fire?
Yeah.
As in building fire?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did, or just in general. It could be faulty electric. So I've unbolted the
exits.
I've unbolted the fire exit when I got in. I know there's smoke alarms here. But yeah, I think that's about it for that's everything I can think of. And by doing this, talking about it with everybody here, we've by definition communicated it to everybody, and we've given everybody the chance to input into it. We're not going up in the loft. That's the other thing.
And look at me. Don't look at me.
I'm looking at Mark, who's somewhere over there.
He's already there. He's been here the whole time.
So yeah, we're not going up in the loft. So working at height doesn't need to be an issue.
Does that mean I genuinely can't get the one thing I wanted out of?
What do you want to get out
What's
of
the
the loft?
D&D books?
They're not in the loft.
Oh, they're not.
They're in the cupboard.
Ah, that's fine then. Never mind.
So that's that one. And so if you were doing this in advance of an event, it might just be easier to write it down, because then it's easier for other people to pick up and read. Both things are acceptable. You can use the Scout Association template. You can just write a bullet point list, but basically you're thinking about what might go wrong, what harm that could cause people, and what you're going to do to reduce that risk to an appropriate level. You also need to include who's done the risk assessment, and when it's being done, and if it's something that you're reusing from a previous event, when you've reviewed or double checked it, that it's still applicable.
And put a date on to review it.
Yeah.
If it's something that you're going to be doing.
Yeah, so if we tend to use event risk assessments, which are this risk assessment is for this specific night, and I've done it at this particular date, in which case you don't necessarily need to review. But if it comes to, for example, D&D, we should probably do this and say we've got a general D&D risk assessment that applies to all D&D sessions, and then you can just have a sort of a here's when we risk assessed it. Here's when we're next going to review it, which I think wants to be about every 6 months at the very least. Or you can just do that every session. We look at the existing one and say, yeah, I've redone the risk assessment by copy and pasting from the previous one, but I've done it on this date for this event. As long as it's got sort of some traceability on there of when it's been done and who by. Okay, so that's your risk assessment. If it's an adventurous activity, so we're talking about hikes that last over 2 hours, I believe. Hikes on the Malvern Hills are a special category. Anything that's like water-based or ropes-based, anything like that, probably including things like go-karting, you need to do what's called an AA form. So if you go on the district website and go into leaders zone and then forms, you should see a link to, it's basically a Google form. Fill in who you are as the person responsible for safety on the activity, and just put in some details. Now, as network members, we usually don't need permits because we're all over 18. So that's not usually an issue, but the form does still need to be done. And for certain things like target sports, the rules are a little bit different, and we would need the correct qualifications to be running those as well. And obviously, even if you don't need a permit, you do still need to know what you're doing. Like, I wouldn't go out and run a kayaking session because I had no idea how to keep everybody safe. Whereas somebody like Tom, who's got, you've got MPB qualification.
I've got qualifications.
Yeah.
You look kayaking boy.
Not necessarily the scout paperwork, although you might have got it by now. But
I still need to fill out the form.
Yeah.
I've been lazy and not done it, but I've got actual paperwork.
or somebody who's experienced and like somebody who's worked at PGL on their rope stuff there is probably going to be able to lead a climbing thing in a similar sort of environment without necessarily having the scout permit or the HB qualification. But we need to check that. If it involves a night away, then there's different paperwork to do, and that's on the Scout membership system. And I think we should probably make that a separate session because otherwise we'll be here all night. There anything else people want to cover about leading an event? But, like, would you, and I'm looking mostly at the people who've been here since the start because the rest of you don't know what you missed, but would you feel confident running an event with that information, or is there anything else you'd like to know or cover?
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm such a nervous smile.
Based on what you said, yeah, I'd be pretty happy with that.
Cool.
I would say, obviously, you don't need to memorize all of this information is what you need to do. You can always come back to the video later,
Yes.
or speak to someone again if you
Yeah.
get stuck on a specific part.
You're trying to get views, aren't you?
Yeah, we've got to get that ad revenue on.
I think Josh has put paid to any ad revenue.
You can swear now on YouTube.
Yeah.
Change it.
I didn't
really?
know that last minute.
As long as it's not within the first 5 minutes, you can.
No,
Yeah.
you can still.
And you were
Just
late
change
to the
that.
5 minutes.
You change that.
Can you
Then
open the podcast and we just spoon up the time and took it? Please.
Only after the bit that says people under 14 stop
you
listening.
should change it.
I agree to these terms.
Never mind. But for now.
There was one where we gave that disclaimer and then Fliss just said fuck. I don't remember what episode that is, but if you're watching this, go listen to.
Go find it.
Steve's plugging up the concert.
Cool. I'm gonna stop recording now. So, people watching the recording, thanks for watching. I'm glad you made it to the end, and catch you soon.
Bye.
Please
Love
remember
you.
to like and subscribe.